This morning, Dr. Susan Shumsky is with us for the first time at Global Sciences. She is a lecturer and an author of the book, Divine Revelation, I believe it is, that I can recall the right title. She can straighten that out if she wishes. But I know it's as in your program. She speaks on the topic being spiritually street smart. And I think you're going to enjoy and be informed. So would you welcome Dr. Susan Shumsky this morning, please.
Thank you, Dean. I'm so happy to be here at Global Sciences. I'm having a wonderful time. Isn't it great? The speakers here are probably of the highest quality I have ever heard at any conference. So I'm just so honored to be here and to tell you all about how to become spiritually street smart. I've been practicing spiritual disciplines for 32 years. I spent 21 years in an ashram with an East Indian spiritual master. That means that I was studying in Europe and in India and in the U.S., in very secluded areas in the Himalayas, in the Alps, and other places where I had the opportunity to spend long, long hours in deep meditation. In fact, I used to meditate up to 20 hours a day. I used to go into my room and I would not emerge for 8 weeks at a time. I would have the food brought to the door. And I would go into silence. I would not speak to anyone for up to 4 months at a time. So I was an introvert, and that is definitely an understatement. So for me to be traveling around the country and getting up in front of large audiences and speaking is a big stretch for me. However, I've come out and I am teaching as many people as I can about spirituality, about meditation, about listening to that still small voice within. So right now, a lot of people are opening up to listening to inner voices. Like, let's listen to our guides, let's listen to our angels. Everybody open up and listen to these inner voices and get our inner guidance. The only trouble is that opening up indiscriminately to listening to these inner voices is like inviting strangers into your home. None of us would invite strangers into our homes. None of us would leave our doors unlocked. Yet many of us are leaving our consciousness unlocked when we open to these inner realms. So just like we are street smart when we go out on the streets, when we use public transportation, street smart, we know how to conduct ourselves in public. Yet many of us are not so street smart when it comes to the inner planes, when it comes to the inner worlds. We have to be just as street smart on the inside and begin to practice what I call safe spirituality. So it's real important for us to begin to become more spiritually discerning. More spiritually discerning. So today we're going to learn about 4 levels that we might be tapping into when we open up to the inner realms. We're going to learn 9 tests to prevent psychic deception. We're going to learn how we can truly test our intuition to make sure that it is the real thing. Become spiritually street smart. So there's 4 different places that we might be receiving our messages from when we begin to listen to these intuitive voices. 4 different places we might tap into when we open up to the inner worlds. One of these places is called the spiritual realm, the true realm of spirit. On that plane of existence, the spiritual realm, we would contact angels, archangels, divine beings, our higher self. And in fact, on the spiritual plane, we might also contact our deceased relatives, our near and dear ones, such as our deceased grandmother or someone like that. On that level, we will receive divine guidance, love, healing, wisdom, and inspiration from within ourselves. That's what I call divine revelation. receiving divine messages from the true voice of Spirit. So that is the best place for us to be getting our messages from. However, there's 3 other places we might inadvertently tap into and delude ourselves into thinking that we are receiving divine revelation when we are not. One of these is the realm of the mind, the mental realm. That would be the subconscious realm, or the realm of the mental area. So what would you find in the subconscious realm? What is contained there? Help me out. What is in your subconscious mind? What's there? Childhood trauma, someone said. What else? Memories of the past. In fact, every single thing that we have ever experienced is contained within our subconscious mind. So we might tap into the subconscious mind and believe that we're receiving divine messages when in fact all we're doing is reading the book that we read 10 years ago that we subsequently forgot about. We're not truly receiving divine messages or messages from the still small voice within. So that's one place we might be tapping into, the mental realm, where we contact our own habits, beliefs, conditioning. I call that our BS, our belief systems, right? So that's what we might be contacting. And then we say, oh, I'm receiving great insights, great messages are coming through me, I'm the great channel. When in fact, all we're doing is talking to ourselves, right? So that's one place we might be tapping into. Another place is called the astral world, the astral plane. And what is contained within the astral plane? Help me out. What's there? Disembodied entities, earthbound spirits, right? We've heard a little bit about that from some of the other speakers here. Earthbound spirits, spirits who are stuck, who did not make it into the divine light after death. I'm sure many of you heard Daniel last night, and he talked about what happens after death. We go through the tunnel, we go into the bright, brilliant, beautiful light, we have a life review, we meet a divine being there. We have these spiritual experiences, and then, well, we don't know for sure what happens after that because no one has come back to tell us. However, it is my belief that that is what happens after death. We go through the tunnel, we go into the bright, brilliant, beautiful light after death. However, there are some people who, for one reason or another, don't make it into that divine light. What are some of the reasons they don't go into the divine light? Help me out. What are the reasons?
Fear.
Fear is one reason. Now, if you have spent your entire life being brainwashed by preachers from the pulpit telling you that you're going to be going to hell after death, do you suppose that you would be thrilled about going into the light, going through the tunnel, and meeting whoever you think you're going to meet up there? You might be afraid to do that because you will be terrified that the big book is going to come out, and then they're going to read you all your sins, and then they're going to condemn you to hell. So naturally, you're not going to be too thrilled about going into the white light. You'll be terrified of meeting God after death. So that's one reason that they don't go into the light. What are some of the other reasons? Attachment. They are overly attached to the earth plane or to people on the earth plane, or the people on the earth plane are overly attached to them and are holding them back. That can also prevent people from going into the light. So pay attention when your deceased loved ones are about to make their transition, or after your deceased loved ones have made their transition, be sure that you are not holding them back from going into that divine light. Our thoughts can prevent them from moving on if we are overly attached to them. What are some of the other reasons? They don't know they're dead. They're confused about it. In fact, we heard a story just the other night about a gentleman who died in his sleep, and he didn't even know he was dead for a long time. Or it may be a sudden accidental death where they don't know that they're dead. They get confused. They get lost. Now, some beings are so attached to the earth plane and to the pleasures of the flesh that they want to continue to enjoy those pleasures after death. For instance, people who are addicted to alcohol or to drugs or to sex or to food or to other addictions, what they might do is they might find someone who is weak, who is ill, and take over their body and then possess them. And suddenly that person has an alcohol addiction or a drug addiction. Or they suddenly have a food addiction or a sex addiction that they didn't have earlier in their life, because this entity has taken over their body and possessed them. This is also the case often with multiple personality disorder. There are reputable psychiatrists who say that multiple personality disorder is simply entity possession or oppression. So often these entities will want to experience the pleasures of the flesh. They'll want to continue in the material world, so they will simply take over someone's body. What are some of the other reasons a person doesn't go into that divine light after death? Guilt is another reason. They don't feel they are worthy to go into that light. They don't feel that they deserve it. So these are some of the reasons why people do not go into that divine light. They get stuck. They get stranded on the lower astral plane. Now, because of that, they may decide, oh, you know, here I am, and because they are so involved with the earth plane, and they're watching what people are doing on earth, they might see Donna here, and she's opening herself up to listening to inner voices, and she's doing channeling, and they'll go and they'll whisper in her ear and give her the teaching that they were not able to give on earth. And then Donna becomes the next famous channeler, and oh, she's receiving these great messages, when in fact it's just some bogus faker spirit from the lower astral world who is giving her these messages. It's not from the spiritual plane at all. And then that being gets to give their message, and everyone on earth thinks that Donna is the great, great Messiah because she is receiving these great messages. And some of these faker spirits may even be able to give some great insights. So we get deluded, we get deceived by these messages. So that's another place we might tap into inadvertently and receive messages. And then we think that we're getting these great insights when in fact we are not. So that's another place we might tap into, the mental world, the astral plane. Now, another place we might tap into is the environment. We may simply be reading people's minds. And this is what psychics often do. Psychics will often simply read your mind, and on that basis, they will be able to predict the future. And why is that? How is it that they can predict the future from reading your mind? Tell me. That's right, because what it is that creates our future is our thoughts, our words, and our deeds. We create our own destiny with our own thoughts, words, and deeds. So if a psychic taps into your mental body, taps into your thought forms, they can project those thought forms into the future and accurately predict the future. Why is it that they don't always predict it accurately? Why is it that a psychic is never 100%? Because we change our thoughts. When you change your mind, you change your destiny, right? So therefore, another place we might tap into, delude ourselves into thinking that we are receiving divine revelations, when in fact all we're doing is just reading people's minds. So we're tapping into what I call the environment. So these are 3 levels we might be tapping into. The mental realm, which is our own subconscious mind, the astral plane, which is these earthbound spirits, the environment, which is reading minds. So considering the fact that there are so many places that we might delude ourselves, so many places we might tap into and receive messages, don't you think it's a good idea for us to become spiritually street smart and to practice safe spirituality? Yeah. Good idea, isn't it? So how many would like to learn the 9 tests to prevent psychic deception? 9 ways in which we can distinguish and discern between that true voice of spirit and whatever else is in our mind. So I'm going to jump right into the 9 tests because I don't have a whole lot of time to speak. I want to get as much information as possible. And whatever I don't get covered will be covered in my workshop on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. And also on Monday morning, we're going to go into the 7 basic methods of spiritual healing. All right, so test number 1 of the 9 tests is the experience test or the feeling test. So when you're in touch with a true spiritual presence, with a true divine voice, with a true voice of spirit, with a capital S, how would you be feeling? What would your experience be like? Help me out. Serenity. Joyful. What else? Love. Unconditional love. You would feel loving and you would feel loved. When you are in touch with God, you are going to feel loved. What else would you be feeling? Complete peace. Contentment. You'd feel utter contentment. What else? Purposefulness. Absolutely. You would feel purposefulness. Because every one of us has a divine purpose, a divine mission. There is something that we are here to do. We were not thrown upon this earth arbitrarily. Every one of us is a divine, mighty, powerful, spiritual being, and we have something wonderful to do. Every one of us has something great to do. We are all contributing to this planet in the most wonderful way. So when we get in touch with spirit, we know what our purpose is. We have confidence because we have an inner knowingness, an inner feeling of wholeness and contentment and oneness and purposefulness. So that feeling of oneness and wholeness is the most important of the feelings in the feeling test. And there are 9 tests. But in the feeling test, that feeling of wholeness and oneness and unity is the most important feeling. And why is that? Because an astral entity from the lower astral world can never fake that feeling. They cannot give you the feeling of wholeness and oneness because they are not there. They are not in the realm of wholeness and oneness. They are in the realm of the astral realm, which is a realm of delusion and a realm of dissipation, not a realm of wholeness and oneness. All right, so be sure that you are in that state of wholeness and oneness, and that's test number 1. You're either there or you're not. The reason that that is test number 1 is because it's the most important test. You're either in that experience of wholeness or oneness, or you're not. So if you are there, the test is passed. If you're not there, the test is failed. So then you need to do something to get back into that feeling of wholeness and oneness. And how can you do that? Very simple. Just sit down. You just close your eyes. Take a few deep breaths. Get quiet. Get still. Get comfortable. Get centered and get balanced. And then you'll be there. That's the place to be. Test number 2 is called the test of the inner knowingness. Inner knowingness means that you know that you know that you know that you know without knowing how you know it. You just know it. You know it beyond a shadow of doubt. Beyond a shadow of doubt. There are no doubts when you are in that state of inner knowingness. There is not any tiny, teeny doubt. There's complete certainty and conviction. That's the inner knowingness. Inner knowingness is not the same as wishful thinking. Wishful thinking. Now, some of us women, when we were much younger, much younger, speaking of age, by the way, I told you that I've been practicing spiritual disciplines for 32 years, right? Yeah, I really am that old, it's true. As a matter of fact, I'm 51 now. And when I tell people my age, often they don't believe me. That's because meditation keeps us young. Meditation, listening to the inner voice, and I have other little secrets too that I'll share with you sometime. In any case, some of us women, when we were much younger, we had wishful thinking. Wishful thinking, right? Oh, I know he's the right man for me. And then he turns out to be Mr. Wrong. But of course, that never happens to any of us now, right? That was much younger, when we were much younger, long, long ago. Wishful thinking. Now, that's not the same as the inner knowingness. The inner knowingness is really knowing without a shadow of doubt. There's a surety. So when you have the inner knowingness, then that test is passed. If you don't have the inner knowingness, that test is failed. Test number 3 is called the challenge test. The challenge. The challenge means that when you encounter an aspect of your higher self, or an inner being, or an angel, or an archangel, or someone who's giving you a message, or a deity, something, when you contact this voice, or this feeling, or this vision, because there's 3 basic ways that you receive these messages. 3 basic ways. Either through seeing an inner vision, which is clairvoyance, hearing an inner voice, which is clairaudience, or getting an inner feeling, which is clairsentience. Those are the 3 basic ways that you receive your inner messages. Although in my book, Divine Revelation, I talk about 12 ways, 12 different ways that you can receive the messages from the still small voice within. The 3 basic ways are through seeing, hearing, feeling. So these 3 ways that you receive these messages, you're getting this inner message, you're either seeing, hearing, or feeling. So you want to challenge that messenger. That stranger comes and knocks on your door and is giving you a message. You want to challenge it. You want to make sure that if a stranger knocks on your door, before you let them in, you're not just going to let anyone in. You want to find out who sent that stranger, what their business is, who they are, right? So we just simply ask a question. You ask, do you come in the name of God? Or you asked, do you come in the name of the Christ? You can ask either of those questions. Depending upon your religious propensity, you will like one of those questions more than the other one. Simply ask, do you come in the name of God? Or ask, do you come in the name of the Christ? And you get a yes response. With whatever way you get your yeses and nos. I might go into that in the workshop. I don't have time today to teach how to get yeses and how to get nos. But most of you have some method. You're either doing dowsing, or you're doing something, or you're hearing, or you're seeing, or you're feeling. Some way you get your yeses and your nos. Get a yes before you proceed. Or if you already get a message, you can ask afterwards too. You don't have to wait. You can ask afterwards. Say, do you come in the name of God? Do you come in the name of the Christ? Either of those questions. Get a yes. If you get a no, the test is failed. Or if you get no answer, the test is failed. Sometimes when we ask these questions, if that being does not come in the name of God, they will simply not answer. They won't say anything. When you use the word God or you use the word Christ, often they will just go silent, mute, which means they need to be healed. They need a healing, astral healing. We're going to learn astral healing on Monday morning, which means how to send that being back into the divine light, which is where it belongs, because it doesn't belong hanging around you. It should not be giving you messages. It should not be bothering you. It should be with God in the divine light. That's where it's supposed to be after death. It's not supposed to be hanging around the earth plane bothering human beings. So always challenge. Now, some teachers say that you should ask the question, do you come in the light? I do not recommend that question. What light? The 10-watt light bulb? The fluorescent light? What light? No, ask, do you come in the name of God or do you come in the name of the Christ? That's test number 3. Test number 4 is the name. That's the name. When that stranger comes and knocks on your door, before you let it in your home, get its calling card. Find out who it is. Find out its name. We would not let any stranger into our homes, yet so many of us, many people come to me and they say, oh, Dr. Shumsky, you know, I listen to my inner guidance all the time. I don't know who's talking to me, but I listen to it and I follow it all the time. Is this intelligent? Does this make any sense? Who are you talking to? Who is giving you the message? Who is moving your pendulum? Who is moving your dowsing rods? Who? Find out who it is. I usually work with the Holy Spirit, or with Jesus Christ, or with another divine being, an ascended master, perhaps Saint Germain or Mother Mary or another divine being, a deity. Perhaps you would like to contact Lord Krishna or Lord Buddha or an angel or an archangel or an aspect of your higher self. All of these beings or aspects of higher self have names. Find out who you're talking to. Okay, find out the name. That's test number 4. But buyer beware, there are beings who will give you a fake name and say that they are Jesus when they are not. So that's why we have 9 tests and not just 1 test. And all 9 tests must be passed in this system, which I am recommending. I'm not saying that this is the be-all and end-all of the universe and you must do this. I'm just giving you suggestions that will help, that will be helpful for you in receiving your inner guidance. So test number 4 is important, but not quite as important as some of the other ones, because you might get a fake name from a faker spirit from the lower astral world who will say, oh yeah, I'm Saint Germain, when they are not. Okay, so test number 5 is called the signal. The signal. The signal is the sign that you are in contact with a particular name that you are in contact with. Now, all of you have received signals in your life. I'm going to give you a very simple example. Sometime in your life, you have felt thrilled. You have felt elated. You have felt touched by God, touched by Spirit. You have felt inspired. At that moment that you felt inspired, something happened. Now, there are many instances in which you might feel that feeling of inspiration. Perhaps you were outside and watching a beautiful sunset. Maybe you were at an art museum and you saw a great painting. Perhaps you heard some music that thrilled your soul. Maybe you saw a dramatic performance or a movie, and something about that experience touched you and moved you. Now, at the very peak point of that experience, you felt something go through your body. A rush of energy, your hair stood on end, you got chills, you got thrills, a kundalini rush. Something happened in your body. Is there anyone in the audience who has not had this experience? Everyone has had this experience. That means you got a signal. That signal is a sign. It's like God is saying to you, wake up and pay attention, I'm here. That's the sign. That is a signal that you are in contact with a particular aspect of God. Now, every inner name will have an inner signal that corresponds to it. And Donna's inner signal will be different from Joyce's inner signal. For instance, if Joyce gets an inner signal for Jesus Christ, it will be different from Donna's signal, most likely. We all have our own personal inner signals that we can use. So, for instance, let's say that Mother Mary gives you an inner signal of a pink light in your heart. That will be different from someone else's signal from Mother Mary. So the signals will come on one of 5 levels, either seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, or actually 6, getting a movement in your body. You'll either see something, hear something, taste something, smell something, feel something, or get a movement in your body. For instance, you might see a beautiful light of a particular color in a particular place. In some place in your body, or in front of you, or somewhere, you will see a light. Or you might see a symbol, or the face of a saint, or a face of God, such as a Star of David, or a cross, or some kind of signal, some kind of vision. Okay? That would be one type of signal. Or you might get an auditory signal. You might hear bells, rushing water, rustling leaves. You might hear an om sound, harps, angels singing. That would be an auditory signal. You might get a kinesthetic signal. You might feel some heat somewhere in your body in a particular place. Or you might feel some tingling, some electricity going through your body. You might feel something cloaking you or surrounding you, something tapping you. These would all be feeling or kinesthetic signals. You might get a gustatory signal. That means you will taste something in your mouth or in the back of your throat, something sweet and wonderful tasting. You might smell a very pleasant fragrance, roses, lilacs, jasmine, gardenia. Some wonderful fragrance might come to you. That would be the olfactory signal. So seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, or getting a movement in your body. Your body might start to shake or quake. You've heard of the Shakers and the Quakers. Do you suppose that maybe there's a reason they were given those names? You might get some rocking back and forth. Your head might bob. Your body might rock. You might be going around in circles. Your head might go around. Suddenly your head might move in one direction or another direction. Gee, why is it that every time I meditate, my head moves this way or that way? This is a signal. It's a sign from an aspect of the divine that you are in contact. Pay attention to your signals. Seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, feeling, or getting a movement in your body. How many are getting these signals already in their meditations? Almost everyone is getting signals already in your meditations. If you get a signal, ask for the name. If you get a name, ask for the signal. Ask, ask, ask. Ask, and it shall be given unto thee. Every single aspect of divine revelation is based upon one principle. Ask, and it shall be given unto thee. Asking. I'm going to give you the secret right now of what divine revelation is and how it's done. Very simple. You sit down in a chair, you close your eyes, you take a few deep breaths, you get quiet, you get centered, you get still, you get balanced, and then you ask. You ask. You ask for healing, you ask for guidance, you ask for wisdom, you ask a question and you get the answer. You ask. The trouble is that we forget to ask. That's our only trouble. We forget to ask. We forget to ask for these miracles to come to us. You can be living in miracles all the time. All you have to do is ask for them. Because everything that your heart desires, everything that is your true heart's desire, will be fulfilled. Everything. All you need to do is ask for it. It's so simple. So if you get the signal, ask for the name. If you get the name, ask for the signal. Be sure that you have a clear signal for every name that you are in contact with. And you don't have to have more than one name, by the way, folks. Holy Spirit is enough if you want to just use Holy Spirit. Or Jesus Christ is enough. Or whatever name it is that you feel comfortable about and that you want to be in contact with, that's enough for you. Let's say you don't like any of these names because they sound too religious to you. How about a name such as the universe? Or our friend Terry last night, he mentioned the matrix, or whatever name it is. Or let's say the force. May the force be with you. How about that? Does that make you feel good? It doesn't really matter if the name sounds like some kind of religious thing or not, as long as you know that it is in the spiritual plane and not on one of those other levels. You don't want to be contacting the astral world. It's not going to do you any good. It's going to be dangerous, in fact, because it can get you into a lot of trouble. It will delude you, and you can be deluded for lifetimes, playing around with the astral plane. Okay, so test number 6 is called the awareness test. And that is that when you're in contact with the true voice of Spirit, when you're receiving these spiritual messages, be awake and aware. It's not necessary for you to go into a trance or to be asleep. When I say asleep, I mean in an unconscious state in order to get these messages from the true voice of Spirit. There's only one time in which you would be receiving divine revelations and unconscious. And that is if you are sleeping at night and getting divine revelations during a dream. And that's perfectly fine. However, if you're just going to go into a meditation and get messages or receive messages while you're awake, be alert and awake. I'm sure many of you have seen these, what they call trance mediums or spirit channelers. They leave their bodies, they check out and let something else check in. They go unconscious, and after they're done giving you their reading or giving you their speech, they say, "Oh, I don't even remember what happened to me. Oh, I just wasn't even there." And we're supposed to be impressed by this. We're supposed to be impressed because they went unconscious. This is impressive. What's impressive about being unconscious? It's unsafe. It is dangerous. There have been studies done on this. I do not recommend that you do this. There have been studies done on it. It creates illness and early death. This is not the way to contact spirit with a capital S. We're talking about spiritual discernment here, folks. We're talking about being in touch with the true realm of spirit and not some bogus entity from the astral world who's going to possess your body while you go somewhere else. I left my body and something else came through me. And we're supposed to be impressed. This is not divine revelation. This has nothing to do with spirituality. Nothing. Okay, that's test number 6. Be alert. Be aware. Test number 7, the quality of the voice. If you are hearing an inner voice, or if you're speaking that voice out loud, the voice is going to sound normal. It's going to sound natural. It's going to sound like your voice. It's not going to have some weird accent and speak in some weird way and be doing weird gesturing. The voice is going to sound normal. Sorry to have to break it to you folks, but These people who are speaking with these weird accents and doing this weird gesturing and this weird stuff are not in touch with the divine realm. They are not. There's 3 reasons why a person is speaking with a strange accent. Number 1, they might be in touch with an entity from the lower astral world, a faker spirit, or some dead entity who has a strange accent who is speaking through them. That's one possibility. Number 2, they might be putting on a theatrical performance for your benefit, or more likely for their benefit. They are putting on a theatrical performance, and we're supposed to be impressed because they've got an accent. We are so gullible. We are so unbelievably gullible. We get impressed by people because they have an accent. If I got up here and started speaking with an accent, is that impressive? There's a third reason why a person might be speaking with an accent. Now, how many of you from birth have been told by your family, by society, by everybody, that you could talk to God directly and that you could get messages from God directly? How many have been told that? Oh my. You must have been raised in very unusual families. We actually have 4 people in the audience who have had that happen to them. I certainly wasn't raised that way. As a matter of fact, almost all of us have been brainwashed since birth to believe that there are only certain special people who are allowed to talk to God. Saints, sages, prophets, holy men, and I emphasize the word men, and other great lofty beings are allowed to get messages from God, from divine revelations. The rest of us peons who are crawling around like worms on the earth, we're not allowed to get these messages from divine revelation because we are too lowly. And these great saints and these great prophets, they are intermediaries between us and God, and they're the only ones that are allowed to get these messages. Right? Wrong. Wrong. Every one of us is a mighty, powerful spiritual being. Every one of us has the capacity to receive divine revelations. All we have to do is ask. That's it. Ask, and it shall be given unto thee. It's so simple. Now, these channelers who are speaking in these weird accents and doing these weird things, they have those same belief systems. They also believe that they can't receive divine messages and that they can't go direct. So because of their belief system, they unconsciously manufacture an accent. It's just an unconscious thing. They manufacture this accent, and that gives them permission to give their messages, whatever they are. Unfortunately, many of them at first were receiving divine revelations that were clear. But then once that belief system kicked in, and they started with these strange accents, that messed up their contact, and they no longer were in contact with that divine voice. All right, so those are the 3 reasons a person might have an accent. So now let's go on to test number 8. Test number 8 is the quality of the message. If you're in contact with a true message from the divine voice, what would that message be like? Help me out. A very loving message. Unconditionally loving. It would be truthful. And that truth is truth for all times. Truth is always, real truth is non-changing. Real truth is true now and is always true. What else would the message be like? Simple. Simple. Very good. Very good. A divine being is never going to say to you, behold, the triumvirate host of Zimron, breaking the extra ray, hand meridian coordinates, activating the bipolar brain-induced Saturnian ray. The 17th hierarchy of the 6th ray of beings have come as messengers from the Rizacular galaxy of Extralandian, and Jesus Christ was also a part of this hierarchy just below the Alphracasis of Nibion. What does that mean? What is that supposed to mean? And we're supposed to be impressed by these messages because we can't understand them. We have such a low self-esteem. We are so gullible. We have such a low self-esteem that we think that if we can't understand it, it must be a high message. I don't get it. I don't understand it. How could we be so gullible as to think that if we don't understand it, if it's complicated, if it's difficult, if it's, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to get through this book. How many of you have tried to plow through these supposedly channeled books? Okay, what else is the message going to be like? Uplifting. It's going to be something that inspires us, that gives us spiritual nourishment, that makes us feel spiritually awakened. Okay, what else is it going to be like? Non-judgmental. How about, you're all miserable sinners that are going to go to hell? This is a message from God? This is a message from the true voice of Spirit? I think not. It's not going to be a fear-inducing message. There is so much fear in our religious institutions. How about the threat of eternal damnation? Do you think that's a pretty good way to control people? No. No fear. No judgment. Only love, gentleness, peace, contentment. Something that brings us a feeling of wholeness and oneness and love. What else would that message be like or not be like? Positive. No negative messages. Now, if Marshall Applewhite from the Heaven's Gate cult had read this book, and if he had believed this book, there's no way he would have told people to commit suicide, because the divine voice will never tell you to harm yourself or to harm another person. Never. It's always a life-supporting message that is not harmful, that is positive. What else would the message be like or not be like? Pardon me? Guilt. No guilt. No guilt. It's not going to make you feel that you have done something wrong and that you are a terrible sinner and that you'll never get it right. So many leaders of various religious institutions will just induce you. That's the way they control you, is through guilt. What else will it be like or not be like? All right, I will help you out. There will be no vanity feeding. Feeding your ego. The trouble is that we have one frailty as human beings. Our main frailty is that we are susceptible to flattery. And this is the way that these astral beings from the other side can control us. It's also the way that cult leaders control us. You are the chosen ones. You are the special ones. You are higher than other beings. You are the chosen one. You are the one that we have chosen to lead the earth and to take it into the next millennium. You are special. You are the accredited messenger of Saint Germain. No one else is allowed to channel Saint Germain but you. And everyone else must come and grovel at your feet because you have this special mission and you have this special knowledge. And all of you are my disciples. Come with me to the Hale-Bopp comet. We'll go together because we are special. We are the alien walk-ins. We are above other people. We have the special mission. So that's the way that you can be controlled by ego flattery. Watch out for the beings that tell you that you're better than other people, or that you have something above, higher, because there's no one who's higher, and there's no one who's lower. Every one of us has God within us. That's our being. That's the true nature of our being. We're already enlightened, folks. There's nowhere for you to go. Wake up. There's nothing. There's nothing but this, right here, right now. This is it. Your higher self is already enlightened. All you have to do is just let it happen. That's it. There's no great guru who's going to take you into enlightenment. There's nobody who's going to be your guide there. You are it. Okay? So, these are the ways that we can test the quality of the message. Also, it will be an unconditional message, because God is not conditional. God has no conditions for you to get it through that tunnel into that white light after death. You're going to go there anyway, eventually. And you have the choice as to whether to go into that tunnel and into that white light. All of you have that choice. There's no conditions. God's not going to say to you, oh, because you did this and you did this and you did this and you did this, you're not going to get through the tunnel and into the light. You're going there anyway. Doesn't matter what you do or you don't do. You're all going there. I'm not suggesting that you all go out and become criminals and not care about morality, because of this. When you listen to your still small voice within you, when you trust its guidance and you follow its guidance, you're going to do that which is of highest good for yourself and for the entire planet. That's the key right there. The key to living a moral and ethical life is to listen to your still small voice within you. And no one can tell you what is right and what is wrong for you. You know it only for yourself, because you will discover it for yourself when you listen to that inner voice and you follow its guidance. It doesn't have to be a voice. It can be a vision. It can be a feeling. It can be a gut feeling. Whatever it is, follow it. Trust it, because you will create miracles in your life when you follow it. You will have so many little coincidences that aren't little coincidences. You will begin to live a magical and mystical life when you listen to that still small voice within you. You're going to find that your life will take on new meaning and new tenor, because you will become all that you can be. You will live your full potential. You will become all that you can possibly be when you follow that voice. You know, it's not that difficult to open to spirit. All you have to do is just sit down and take some deep breaths, like I said. It's not even difficult to listen to the inner voice. All you have to do is ask for it and listen. You know what the hard part is? The hard part is once you get the guidance to actually follow it. That's what's challenging. On Monday, when I give the workshop, I'll be telling you some fun stories about what happened to me when I listened to my inner voice, and what miracles I've been able to create in my life, and also what happened when I didn't listen to my inner voice, and what happens when we don't listen, and what kind of trouble we get into. So let's go on to test number 9. Test number 9 is called the result. After you have received your true message from the divine voice, how are you going to feel? What's the result? How will you feel? Peaceful, serene, joyful. How else? Peace, yes. You're going to feel, and this is the key operative word, you're going to feel energized. Energized. You are going to feel filled with energy and life. You're going to feel elated. You're going to feel ready to go. You're going to feel motivated, because you have just been in touch with that divine voice within, with the divine presence within. You're going to feel energized. So many people say to me, oh, Dr. Shumsky, you know, I do hands-on healing all day. Oh, I get so drained. I get so tired. I'm a psychic. I do readings all day. Oh, everybody's a psychic vampire. They're vampiring all my energy away from me. Oh, I get so drained. I'm like a psychic sponge. Oh, I'm so drained. I feel like I'm being dragged through the mud, like a mop dragged through the mud. By the end of the day, all I can do is just lie on my bed and just collapse. So drained. Yeah, we do get drained. If we leave our auras hanging open and let ourselves be psychic sponges, we do get drained. And there will be psychic vampires that will take our energy all day. However, if we are in touch with the still small voice within us, with the divine voice, if we practice the techniques in this book, there is no way we will ever get drained. No way. We will be filled with energy, light, love. If you're a hands-on healer, if you're a psychic, and you get out of the way and allow that divine presence and that divine voice to do it through you, and you become the vehicle for spirit with a capital S, you will never get drained, because the divine presence is unlimited energy. There is no end to it. So thank you very much, and I have enjoyed talking to you about the 9 tests, and come on Monday morning and learn more, learn the 7 methods of spiritual healing, and we'll see you then.
Okay. Hello. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Susan. You know, I did finally get in touch with my inner self, and he said he sure didn't like it in there. He wanted out. Be back here in 8 minutes, and then we're going to go high tech.